Alright, so Taylor Lorenz uploaded this video about Emiru's TwitchCon assault that occurred. There's a lot of stuff that's been happening with Emiru. As I'm making this video right now, she made a whole VOD talking about the Mizkif stuff that she leaked out. There's like some allegations of sexual assault. Here's the thing, before we go into this video, I don't want to give a take on the Mizkif Emiru stuff just yet. It's still a very much new thing as of the time of me recording this, and I just don't really feel comfortable giving a full take on it right now. It's very fresh, and there's a lot of, like, different layers to it, and we'll look at it, like, when we get there. So I'm gonna let it sit for maybe, like, a day, and then I'll make a video reacting to everything and try to give my best good faith interpretation on everything. And, yeah. But for right now, we're here for Taylor Lorenz. She's talking about Emiru. The title of this video is They Do Not Care About Violence Against Women. Great. I can't wait for the peak journalism Taylor is going to do here.
It's not just that there's no deterrent to this behavior, but it's actually rewarded by the platform and socially by other men.
Last weekend, popular cosplay Twitch streamer Emiru was assaulted at a meet and greet during TwitchCon. A man cut across several meet and greet lines and attempted to grab her for a kiss as she tried to push him away.
Yeah, that's terrible stuff. That is a form of sexual assault, absolutely, or at the very least attempted a sexual assault. Non-consensual kissing is a form of sexual assault.
Security guard quickly intervened and pushed the man off, but the man exited the building and was never restrained. The incident was obviously a catastrophic failure when it comes to keeping women creators safe. The man should have never been allowed to walk away after what he did, and it's unclear why her security guard didn't restrain the man after pushing him off.
You know what's so funny? Taylor Lorenz didn't bring up the fact that she interviewed Dan Clancy at this point, and she could have pushed back on Dan Clancy so much on, like, why the man wasn't stopped, why Twitch didn't give the fucking name of the assaulter to the police when the police did try to get involved, but then the police wound up doing nothing with it because, yeah. That's apparently what happened according to, like, the new stuff with Emiru that came out.
It's also unclear why TwitchCon security or the police on the scene didn't step in and attempt to halt the man from leaving.
Bro, Emiru said that TwitchCon lied about police even getting involved to begin with. Police weren't even on the scene! Taylor, what are you doing? TwitchCon security is fucking terrible, like...
The man was eventually caught hours after the incident, and Emiru is currently pressing charges. She said, quote, "He was allowed to walk away from my meet and greet, and I didn't hear he was caught until hours after he attacked me. It felt like this only happened because of my manager pressing for it, not because TwitchCon staff present thought it was a big deal."
Yeah. And I'm gonna believe Emiru because Emiru has generally been credible on most of the things she's been talking about. And it's very strange. Taylor Lorenz never watched Emiru's video that came out, like, after the TwitchCon incident. She never fucking watched it at all.
All of this has raised tons of questions about security protocols at TwitchCon and what should be done going forward to make the convention more safe.
Yeah, no shit. The Twitch is fucking terrible. First of all, Dan Clancy needs to fucking step down. Dan Clancy is such an irresponsible CEO. He needs to step the fuck away. Two, TwitchCon security needs to be top-notch. Like, it was clearly not top-notch. They said it would be top-notch twice, and every single response they've given is just PR bullshit. And this keeps happening year after year after year. And, like, TwitchCon is not safe for women. Like, Twitch obviously doesn't give a fuck about their women whatsoever. They just keep giving bullshit non-answers that are just PR curated.
Even before TwitchCon began this year, high-profile streamers including Cutie Cinderella, Valkyrie, and others declined to attend the event over safety concerns. After the Emiru incident,
they stopped going, but yeah.
Tons of big content creators began piling on Twitter, pushing out-of-context clips, attempting to show lax security at the event, and calling for Twitch CEO Dan Clancy's resignation.
What is out of context, Taylor? What are you talking about? What more context do you need to see a man cross boundaries, to lean in for a kit? Dude, we're not even like 2 minutes into this video and I'm already gonna crash out. Taylor Lorenz is such a fucking... Oh my god. I've seen this video already, but she's gonna fucking find a way to somehow defend this shit. like, throughout this whole video. What is out of context? What more context do you need for a man that crosses several boundaries to try to lean in, grab somebody for a kiss, non-consensually? What more context is there? That's assault. What more context do you need for that?
Of course, most of these people actually don't give a shit about women's safety. They're just opportunists, and we're...
Yeah, okay, says the one who didn't watch Emiru's fucking, like, video right after. Like, you call yourself a journalist, you can't even do the bare minimum of watching Emiru's video. That's like, it's a 48-minute video that she made talking about the incident.
Gonna get into all that. But why am I talking about all of this on Free Speech Friday? I think it's a good example of how more surveillance and security theater doesn't inherently keep people safe.
What?
And I think it shows the significant barriers women face as content creators and how relentless abuse and harassment silences women and prevents them from speaking out and expressing themselves.
Oh my god, I fucking hate this woman so much. I had to hold myself back from saying slurs just there. The security at TwitchCon is hella fucking incompetent. Not to mention, you have Dan Clancy, who sets the stage for all of this to happen. 2 years prior, before Emiru got assaulted, someone else attempted to go and assault her, assumedly, because she was getting stalked, but her previous security guard prevented it from happening, and because Twitch didn't like how the security guard handled it then, he got permanently banned from ever going to TwitchCon again. That's the interpretation I have. And in your interview with Dan Clancy, which I didn't watch on the channel, I watched the interview with Dan Clancy. Taylor says in her interview that she thought TwitchCon was a secure event. Watch, I'll play the clip right now. Alright, right here.
Streamers trust Twitch to keep them safe at TwitchCon, because I feel like simultaneously this has been such a secure event to the point that even like journalists have had struggled. Like, you know, it is very secure, but you know.
And you said more security doesn't help women, but you ran the narrative that there was security here, and so how could like security be an issue? Okay, I love the narrative, Taylor. I really love the narrative.
To discuss all of this, I have Kat Tenbarge here. Kat,
who the fuck is this woman? Bro, I watched this video. This woman said she didn't even... Okay.
Is one of the top journalists...
We'll get into it when we get into it. I saw this video already, but like Taylor Lorenz is such a joke.
Covering gender-based harassment and abuse. And today we're going to break down exactly what went down at TwitchCon, why you shouldn't listen to a lot of the loudest voices online, and what can actually be done to keep women safe on the internet and off.
Guys, the loudest voices on the internet criticizing Twitch, they're bad people. Great. Thanks, Taylor. Thank you.
Kat, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me.
So you weren't at TwitchCon. I wish you were there. But I feel like just...
I wish you were there. By the way, I care about women's safety. Okay, if you cared about women's safety, you would have watched Emiru's video explaining her side of the story about TwitchCon. You would have watched that, but you didn't. You didn't fucking watch it, Taylor. And it's very obvious with the narrative that you ran earlier in this video, talking about like Emiru with the law enforcement thing, but you would listen to how law enforcement wasn't even involved. You didn't even listen to Emiru's side of it at all.
Start off, I want to give people a sense of what TwitchCon was like, and then I kind of want to compare it to other conventions that you and I have both been at, because I feel like we both cover these large events and conventions a lot and attend this stuff. So I think a lot of people have seen a lot of misinformation going around, and I want to explain kind of the way things went down. So I would say this security at this convention was stricter than any other convention I've been to, and we'll get into why that doesn't make things safer.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, so if security was stricter, how come somebody was able to get in, bypass security? And you want to know something else, by the way? Recently, they confirmed that the guy who assaulted Emiru didn't even have a Twitch badge on him. He didn't have a Twitch badge on him. And you want to know why? You can do +1s at TwitchCon. You are allowed to, and they don't background check +1s. Apparently, they do some level of background check to the people that are buying badges to TwitchCon, but they don't do a background check to the people who get the +1s. And this guy didn't have a badge on him, which means he was able to sneak in because security was just that lax. But yeah, sure, Taylor, security was very secure, very, very secure.
But it was very strict in the sense that, like, you had to have a wristband, you had to scan in to get to different areas. They were very strict about maintaining that. There was
yeah, and that's why Emiru got assaulted, right?
this video online that claimed to show
With a guy without a badge.
someone bypassing the wrist scanning system. In fact, that's not what that video shows. I reached out to the company about how those machines work. That video actually shows the person scanning and it turning orange, which meant that that person was a credentialed +1. So it actually showed the system working. But
They don't background check +1s. They don't background check them, and you can't even, you don't even have to wear a badge as a +1.
it was pretty intense. I mean, I couldn't even get into the venue when I got there the first day initially because I hadn't passed a background check. And every single person that registered for the event had to go through this like background check security review, essentially to make sure that they weren't on a known stalker list or had sort of criminal records, things like that. So
Not the +1s, though.
I do think that it was very quote unquote secure.
Okay, Taylor.
Even more so than any other convention that I've been to, where I think journalists and a lot of people have a lot more free.
This is actively just sweeping. This is just like a whole sweep. You're basically saying, the narrative you're running, Taylor, is the clip was out of context, you know, there was very much a lot of security, but even though there's a lot of security, that doesn't actually provide security to women or whatever. Like, you're actively just sweeping for Twitch here for some fucking reason.
Rome, I was in the content creator space myself with TwitchCon's down there, and like I saw people even getting stopped, featured creators being stopped and asked questions and things like that. I'm curious, like, your perception from the outside. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the discourse online, but like, how would you say it compared to other conventions?
Yeah, by the way, this person that she's interviewing didn't even go to TwitchCon, by the way. So she just has her on here because I guess we just have some random person on here to talk about random shit, I guess. I don't know.
From what you saw.
I think just from like a technological perspective alone, there were more measures in place at this convention.
You didn't even go to the event. What the fuck are you talking about? You didn't even go. How would you know?
Than any other convention that I've ever been to. And
Oh my god.
that includes conventions for YouTube. It includes like VidCon and Playlist Live, as well as like anime and Comic Cons and other types of conventions, even concerts and stuff. Like, you have seen sort of this industry of security technology grow. And this to me is sort of like,
Great. So at these other conventions where there's heavy security measures in place, how come TwitchCon is the only one where there's tons of sexual misconduct that is like has like a huge pattern of behavior that Dan Clancy sets the stage for? Can you explain that one to me? Because I'm sure there may be some cases at like other conventions, but I have not seen it as bad as TwitchCon. TwitchCon is like some of the worst that I've definitely seen.
looking at sort of even what I was just seeing in viral videos. I'm like, they don't usually have this type of stuff at these types of venues.
Yeah, the whole energy was like very kind of tense around it. I mean, there were these big female streamers that chose not to go because of concerns around safety. It had the vibe to me of VidCon after the Christina Grimmie murder, where this YouTuber was murdered by a fan, and YouTube
Yeah, and guess what? Emiru could have been murdered. She could have been murdered.
and VidCon really cracked down the next year, where they sort of started to realize, like, we really need to protect talent. It was significantly more secure than certainly Playlist Live, which we...
Oh my god, no. How... I don't understand. How are you going to say an event is secure? Oh, by the way, one of our people got sexually assaulted. But it was a secure event. You cannot have it both ways. You can't say somebody got assaulted, but then be like, the event was very secure. That doesn't make any sense, Taylor.
wrote that a while
Yep.
ago. And I'm just speaking purely from influencer events, because I think that those are that sort of engender a certain...
So weird. Taylor Lorenz wants to be an influencer so badly. Like, she calls herself a journalist. She's hardly a fucking journalist at all. She's a total hack, and she's such a bad journalist, she can't even watch Emiru's video. Like, we're 4 minutes into this, and I could just tell she didn't watch Emiru's original video, because she would have known that Emiru said that the police hardly did anything, but that police... And now Taylor was running the narrative saying that police was apparently involved somehow, but the police barely fucking did anything whatsoever. They were not involved hardly at all, if that. They didn't even give the name of the assaulter, the Twitch name, to the police. In fact, Twitch apparently refused to do so, according to Emiru's, like, new proof that came out. Or new stuff that came out with, like, the whole Mizkif stuff going on right now.
type of fandom. It was the most secure, quote unquote, influencer event that I've been at. When I toured Twitch's security center the day after the Emiru incident, I was struck by the surveillance of it all. First of all, not only did they have police officers, plainclothes officers, like constantly, throughout the venue, and
Emiru said otherwise.
security officers all over, but they had just this
Also, was it outside the venue and not in the venue?
huge surveillance infrastructure. So they had 92 cameras set up in addition to all the security cameras in every single corner of the convention hall. And then they had every single live streamer. If you went live from TwitchCon, they had your stream pulled up, basically like geofenced the whole area and like pulled in every single stream on these massive like 1984 style monitors where they had, I literally think it was probably thousands of streams. Every single stream had like the...
Wait a minute. Hold on a second.
And then they had every single, all this huge surveillance infrastructure, throughout it all. First of all, not only did they have police officers, plainclothes officers, like constantly, throughout the venue, and security officers all over, but they had...
Wait, what?
Struck by the surveillance center the day after the Emiru incident. I was...
The day after... I didn't even catch that at first, by the way. The day after Emiru's assault. Who gives a fuck if the surveillance is high the day after? Who cares? That's a response. That is called a response, Taylor. Do you not understand that? Who gives a fuck if it was the day after? There should have been high security before that. That's why people are so mad about it. What are you talking about?
All the security cameras in every single corner of the convention hall.
Oh my god, sweep, 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 sweep. This whole video is just sweeping for Twitch. And for what? I actually don't understand. Like, we're 5 minutes into this. Why is Taylor sweeping for Twitch so fucking hard with this video? I can only think Hassan. I can only think Hassan. Like, because Hassan is like a top dog at Twitch or something. And she just like loves Hassan or something. And she's like so fucking thirsting for Hassan. That's the only thing I can think of.
Then they had every single live streamer. If you went live from TwitchCon, they had your stream pulled up, basically like geofenced the whole area and like pulled in every single stream on these massive like 1984 style monitors where they had, I literally think it was probably thousands of streams. Every single stream had like the person's name, whether they were partnered or not, like some information, and then just like the videos playing. And then they had dozens and dozens.
I don't care. That doesn't mean there's more security. Like... Just because you have someone's IRL stream playing on a big giant monitor, like that doesn't mean like suddenly it makes it more secure. The security should come from the actual security cameras. They should come from the actual Twitch security people themselves, which, by the way, didn't do anything to stop Emiru's assault there. Just to be clear.
Dozens of analysts like sitting around analyzing, replaying footage, looking at people. I don't know if they were doing facial recognition or not.
Okay, so how does this relate to Emiru's assaulter again?
But it was certainly like they were zooming in on things, looking at...
Great, Emiru's assaulter wasn't IRL streaming. How does this relate to him?
Social, monitoring it all. What struck me is that like they had essentially deputized these live streamers, IRL streamers, which are primarily men, to like go around and...
Primarily men. So the connotation is that men are being very misogynistic to women, by the way. And that they're primarily men. That's what Taylor Lorenz is trying to deliver. Dude, every time I watch a Taylor Lorenz video, normally I try my best to, like, be charitable to women, and obviously, like, women do deserve to be advocated for, but every time I watch Taylor Lorenz, I become the most red-pilled motherfucker ever. I swear to God. Okay, sorry, we're back.
And the argument was sort of, well, look, we have so much surveillance footage. This is how, like, this gives us extra monitoring. And it just, of course, showed to me, of course, surveillance does not mean safety. It just means more surveillance, especially when the people, doing the surveillance are these troll live
why is more surveillance a bad thing? What?
Streamers. I think that was a huge...
What? I don't understand the narrative. Is your narrative that, like, more surveillance is bad because bad faith actors, aka people like Neon, like, IRL stream and do bad things because of that? Is that your narrative? Okay, if somebody wasn't recording Emiru's assault, Twitch would not have said anything. They wouldn't have given a shit. Because Twitch doesn't care about women's safety. And I don't think you do either.
difference between this convention and other conventions that I've been at as well. Aside from maybe 2015 VidCon, or maybe it was 2016, when Meerkat, remember like Meerkat and Periscope and everything came out? That was a year like a lot of people were live streaming, not in the same way. This was like true 1984 style. Like every single person was live streaming, and the convention was overrun with these IRL streamers. Which
that has nothing to do with Twitch getting more security to do something about it. Like, that has nothing to do with it. Like, every single Taylor Lorenz video I watch, she always concern trolls to some extent. She'll always use like a point to try to concern troll and derail the conversation. Throughout this whole video, she is just sucking the dick out of Twitch. She is gargling Twitch's cock. Dan Clancy's cock.
Is a category that has skyrocketed over the past year.
Yes, like this culture of IRL streaming, I think it's so important to point out that it is not done with like women's safety as like an interest in.
I hate the way this woman talks. Why are you even interviewing her? She didn't even go to the TwitchCon event. She probably doesn't even know what the fuck is happening. Like, the way she talks, she like literally fits the blonde woman stereotype.
In fact,
like, listening to her talk sounds like a fucking machine malfunctioning.
it's oftentimes the exact opposite. So much of this type of streaming and what you see succeed on this platform and elsewhere is actually just like harassing women, which is a really interesting juxtaposition with like, we need more surveillance, when so often surveillance in itself is to the detriment of.
So if you care so much about harassing women, why aren't you using the same energy to go after the guy who was harassing Emiru, and why Twitch allowed it to happen? Why aren't you doing that? Oh, yeah, because you're sweeping for Twitch. I forgot. You both are trying so hard to sweep for Twitch in this video.
Like women and marginalized people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was struck when I was looking at this giant tile of like screens and streams, is that they were on mute. You know, I'm sure that you could click in and hear what was being said if you wanted to zoom in on certain people. But to me, it seemed very, the sort of surveillance was optimized for like physical security rather than the type of security that I would argue matters a lot as well, which is like, it is related to physical security, but it is like, you know, the hate and harassment and abuse. And we'll get into that. So let's...
What? Okay. All right.
Let's talk about the Emiru situation, because I think this was the most clear security
About fucking time. You're like 8 minutes into your video.
breach. Like, I just want to be clear. I'll say it again. I think this was
Very secure event, by the way. You can't have it both ways, Taylor. You said that the event in your Dan Clancy interview, which, by the way, you gave Dan Clancy very little pushback. You didn't give any meaningful pushback, and you gave Dan Clancy so much charitability to sweep. And so... like, you said that TwitchCon, very secure event, but also there's a security breach. You can't have it both ways, Taylor. You pick a fucking narrative. You can't have it both ways.
It was such a catastrophic failure. It was horrible what happened to her. It was completely unacceptable. It's a nightmare. I've been assaulted on the job before. It's awful.
I want to believe Taylor here, but Taylor has such a huge history of just being flat out dishonest about everything she talks about that I just don't believe her. Taylor is just not a very honest person. She has such a long history of lying and sweeping for some of the worst people imaginable. And so, like, I know it sounds fucked up for me to not believe her, but I don't believe her. I don't believe her.
I completely empathize with what the threats that people like her have to deal with. The fact that she was assaulted and it was her security guard that stepped in and not Twitch's security or the police that were around.
The police weren't around. What the fuck are you talking about? What are you fucking talking about? The police weren't there. What are you talking about? The police barely did anything to stop this person. What are you talking about? They weren't even here. Twitch's security were not even there to stop it. Actually, no, this is Twitch's security. He did nothing when he crossed multiple barriers. What the fuck are you talking about, Taylor?
Twitch's security and the police just let him walk out of the venue was absurd. I think talent probably should have been behind tables with security guards on each side. That's what they do for a lot of big celebrities at like Comic-Con and other events. When I did my book tour, I had to be behind a table.
Oh, great. We're plugging our book now in the middle of, like, talking about Emiru's assault. Yeah. We're plugging our book now. What a dumpster fire this video is.
Public events because I had so many threats and people threatening to harm me. But it seemed like this was just like a massive lapse in, you know, keeping women safe at the convention.
100%.
But you said that this was a secure event. You said that there was so much security at the event and that, like, it's very, very secure and people should be getting in. But this was a security breach. Okay.
And I also think that that really goes to show, and this is reflective of just like policing and security in general, but this rhetoric that like men in the vicinity will protect women, this is a perfect example of why that is not the case.
What the fuck are you talking about? There was Emiru's security guard defended it himself. He was the only, Emiru's personal security was the only one who did it. Oh my fucking god. Now we're making this, oh, it's a men problem. Yeah, guess what? Men have been sexually assaulted at TwitchCon as well. Last year, NMP had his fucking nipple licked without consent. And like apparently at like another Twitch party, what is it? That Nina Lynn person like held a man down and like someone else was like twerking on him and they like he said stop several times. And that was also a form of sexual assault as well. Apparently that was streamed live on Twitch as well. But it's a men problem. Oh my fucking god.
It was her personal security guard who stepped in, but you do have all of these men who are tasked with security standing around who just did not intervene, and that is not irregular.
We somehow made this a problem about it being men's fault. That's the narrative that we're running in this video. Got it. Got it. Cool.
Like, that is a reflection of what happens when women go to the police and report that they have been assaulted or that they are being harassed. Like,
so is your alternative to not go to the police? What the fuck are you doing? What is... How am I supposed to take any of you seriously when the bare minimum is to watch Emiru's account of what happened? I didn't watch the full thing, but I watched a good chunk of it, and I watched the important parts of it where she specifically said that the police didn't intervene. And if you're doing... like, Taylor had more than enough time to prepare for this video. The bare minimum would be to actually watch Emiru's video, but Taylor didn't even do that. She didn't even do that. I don't know if it's because she's lazy or if she's, like, actively trying to sweep for Twitch here. And I'm leaning towards the latter.
It is not taken seriously, and I think that this just really does go to show why putting people in these...
Emiru's security guard, who was a man, stopped it. Hope that helps.
...positions.
Stupid bitch.
Like, men protecting women, it doesn't play out in real life. If anything, putting more men, more security in the situation can become more of a danger to women because you can't necessarily trust those specific individuals who have been tasked with, like, security.
Oh my god. I hate this narrative so much.
I was so appalled when I heard that Emiru said that they were, like, laughing or sort of laughing off the incident. Like,
yeah. Yeah. They were. You didn't even watch the video. Yeah, right here.
Because why is no one there making sure I'm safe like a person? Why are the security guards joking and laughing and be like, oh, I didn't even see what happened?
It's just like the bar is so low, Taylor, for your journalism here. You have everything out here for you that you need to talk about the situation. And you're not even doing the bare fucking minimum and watching Emiru's video and Emiru's account of it. It's like, she's like, I was appalled when they said they were joking and laughing. Shut the fuck up, Taylor. How about that? Shut up.
Like, I can understand if she was laughing because she has been through trauma and off.
Oh my god. I had to hold back from saying a slur there. Jesus fuck. Oh my god. Taylor is so... I can't, at this point, I can't even tell if Taylor is stupid or if she's, like, actively, like, just, like, purposely trying to be deceptive and she knows what she's saying is really stupid.
Often the trauma response would be to kind of, like, laugh it off and downplay it. But the people around her should have recognized how egregious and terrifying that was. And there's a few things that happened to...
Oh, so, got it. Everybody else is at fault for the fact that Emiru got assaulted, not the assaulter or Twitch's security, right? Twitch's security. Everyone should have recognized that. Great work, Taylor. Thank you.
That I think show why more security does not mean more safety. First of all, this man who assaulted her was not a known entity. He wasn't on her like stalkers list. You know, this was just a bad actor who went through the security checks. He didn't have, you know, seemingly any sort of...
So how come TwitchCon has had a long history of sexual misconduct, years and years and years and years of it? This was just one bad actor. Really? Are you gonna talk about those? Or are you just gonna, like, continue to just, like, run this weird concern troll thing that you're trying to do here?
That would have been flagged. He was able to buy a ticket. He was able to, yeah, cut across some lines, but people cut across lines. That doesn't inherently mean that they're gonna, like, violate someone.
I'm That doesn't mean they're gonna violate someone. That's a violation of security. That should be enough for security to go, okay, he's crossing lines. We should stop them. You're not supposed to do that. It is security's job to intervene with that. Yeah, he crossed some lines, but people cross lines all the time. What the fuck are you saying?
I think the point is that, like, he had a badge. He was a registered ticket holder.
He didn't. He was a +1, apparently. They said that they didn't have a badge. Emiru said that he didn't.
He had every right. Say he had waited in line to...
Oh my fucking god. I'm gonna look back at it again. Oh, okay. So apparently she did say that he had his wristband and badge. But, like, my point still stands with the fact that, like, Twitch doesn't even do background checks on +1s who don't have security bands and wristbands or whatever. It says here that, he still had his badge and wrist and everything, so yeah. Yeah, that's what Emiru says in their original video. Okay. That part, I guess that one part I got wrong, but, like, still, my point fucking stands.
Do that, you know, that would have been just as bad. I don't think you can know people's intention, and that's what's so scary, right? Is that, like,
he crossed multiple lines of security. It doesn't matter what his intention is. Security's job is supposed to stop it.
Somebody could just wait in line and have the intention to harass or attack a woman, and they could do that, right?
Yes, and I even saw someone suggest...
What the fuck is this point? Like, you're saying, oh, they crossed lines of security. That doesn't mean they were intending to assault them. That's still their security's job to stop them. And if security steps in to meet up with them, and then do something weird, that is still security's job to do that. Like, this is such a non-argument that you're giving.
That, like, as an increased measure of security, they could have, like, a security guard walk each individual person up to do the meet and greet. But again, would that have stopped him from assaulting her? No. And I feel like this also sort of, like, reflects this kind of underlying desire to control of...
This entire video is Twitch did nothing wrong. This video's disgusting. This video is literally just like, you're pretending to advocate for women, saying, like, assault's disgusting, but you are giving every single point that justified the assault. It would be, like, if you made a video giving rape apologist rhetoric and victim blaming, it would be, which is kind of what you're already doing in this video, it literally would be no different.
Other people, and to be able to, like, predict when someone is going to become violent, like, to be able to respond to things in advance of them happening, which at a very basic level just is not possible. And I think a lot of people's reaction of, like, we need more security, we need, like, more people out there, I understand where it comes from. It comes from, like, a primal fear of not being able to know when you're in danger and not being able to, like, keep yourself out of danger 100% of the time, which is also where security theater comes from.
I mean, I just think, like you said, it's so scary because I think there were tables available for the creators. Most creators stand in front. They're incentivized to give their fans hugs. When I talk to other creators about, like, hey, why weren't you behind a table with 2 security guards? They're like, well, my fans want to take selfies. Like, influencers especially are encouraged, and both of us have written so much about this, like, encouraged to develop these parasocial fandoms. If you seem inaccessible, I mean, look at the response to Cutie Cinderella.
I'm at a loss for words. You didn't push back on Dan Clancy's interview, like, at all. You hardly fucking asked anything meaningful, and you didn't even give meaningful pushback. You didn't do the bare minimum of journalism whatsoever when interviewing Dan Clancy. And now you're pretty much parroting the same point that Dan Clancy gave, saying that streamers cultivate their audience. They're responsible for cultivating their parasocial fans. This is just a full sweep for Twitch. You're sweeping so fucking hard. You might as well have Dan Clancy's cock in your clavicle.
And the other female streamers that decided not to go, they were lambasted and dragged through the mud. Caroline Kwan had a security guard with her, and people were attacking her and criticizing her, like, oh, who do you think you are? You know, you need security? Like, yes, she does. I was even nervous.
Yeah, and that's a problem, that the fucking streamers need to bring their personal security because they can't rely on TwitchCon's security to actually do their fucking jobs.
Myself, I had 2 men travel to TwitchCon specifically to confront me, you know, because of some beef that they have perceived, you know, with me and some streamer. I have no streamer beef, but, like, you know.
I have no streamer beef because no one knows who the fuck you are, Taylor. You're not important. actually. Believe it or not, you're actually not as important as you try to make yourself seem. You are a terminally online woman in your 40s that pretends to be a journalist, that role plays being a journalist, but instead, you just fucking concern troll all of your talking points. You are a fucking hack. You are not a real journalist. You are about as much of a journalist as fucking legal mindset is a lawyer. Meaning that you are not a journalist at all.
Whatever, because I'm talked about on these people's channels. I have a
You're really not that important, Taylor, believe it or not. I'm reacting to this because you're sweeping for Twitch really hard. But other than that, like, you're actually not that important. You just fucking suck up to Hassan. And you, like, just talk about Ethan Klein because you have Ethan Klein derangement syndrome.
Very well-known stalker who constantly tries to attend events that I'm at. Like, I had to be escorted out of a VidCon panel a couple years ago by 4 security guards. Right after the panel, I wasn't even allowed to at the front of VidCon that year because I had a streamer fan actually threatening to assault me. And like I said, I have been assaulted on the job. So I just say all that to say that, like, you and I both know what it's like, not to mention all the harassment that we receive online. Like, we know what it's like to suffer this sort of gender-based violence. And I think that, like, if we want to talk about what keeps women safe, it's not just like more cops standing around doing nothing. Like, that is not going to prevent this stuff. It's not.
Yeah, make sure Twitch actually does their job. This is also a pretty huge self-report in your narrative because you said cops weren't doing anything at this event whatsoever. They stood around and did nothing. Didn't you say earlier in this video that they had plenty of cops and that Twitch's security was very high? Didn't you just say that earlier in this video?
More like face scanning or whatever. It is fundamentally changing the culture of what's permissible and acceptable because that man knew.
Not really. I think everybody looked at what happened with the assault of Emiru and said, yeah, that is unacceptable. Everybody knew that. But the security, other than the personal security that Emiru hired, did nothing. And Dan Clancy made excuses and even victim blamed Emiru, essentially. If you look at the interview, he says streamers are responsible for cultivating their audience.
That he could walk up, do that, and walk out. And he was right. Look at some of the other appalling behavior that we saw at TwitchCon, where these men, these IRL streamers, were rating women, degrading women, harassing and abusing women. We had featured creators like Neon, right, saying the most misogynistic stuff, harassing women. These are parts.
You can't advocate against misogyny and then sweep for Twitch about the assault that Emiru went through. That is extraordinarily hypocritical, Taylor. You can't have it. Pick a struggle. You can't have it both ways.
Content creators, right? These are people that Twitch has, like, given the seal of approval to.
Yeah, these are people, like, I think about how Neon has, like, a publicist, and I've received PR pitches over the past week, like, do you want to interview this guy?
He was with Iggy Azalea.
Exactly. And it's like, this to me echoes so many of the issues that people don't take seriously. People don't take gendered violence seriously in general, and
no, people took it pretty seriously when it happened to Emiru. They took it pretty damn seriously.
There's this idea that, like, online harassment, which directly escalates and leads to these incidences, is not taken seriously, and this idea that, like,
people took it pretty seriously.
Police protect women, which is just so far removed from reality, which is that actually, like, police endanger women.
One Twitch streamer.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say police endangered women because the security didn't fucking do anything about it. And I don't even think police were even, like, there inside the venue. They were outside the venue, which wasn't where the assault took place.
That I spoke to about this incident gave me a quote that I've been thinking about a lot. And he said, what happened at TwitchCon was to a very significant degree unavoidable.
That's definitely not true.
Because there weren't enough barriers to accessing VIPs, checkpoints, or staff training, but because this is a Twitch culture issue. Rape culture and hyper-misogyny are rampant on the platform from top to bottom. Entire Discord and subreddits are dedicated to stalking and harassing women, POC, LGBTQ streamers. There can't be safety for women at these events until the company takes their concerns seriously on the platform. I thought this was so true and accurate. You know, I interviewed Dan Clancy.
Sounds like you're virtue signaling, to be honest.
At TwitchCon, I asked him about the Emiru incident. He gave, you know, kind of a PR bullshit answer, but I also...
No, Taylor, no, you don't get to do that. Dan Clancy had a horrible response, but you don't suddenly just get to remove all responsibility from yourself and put it onto Dan Clancy. You had a huge role in pushing back on whether or not Dan Clancy actually could give it, like, any meaningful answer. If he had a bullshit PR answer, you're the fucking journalist interviewing him, push back, get some meaningful questions in there, try to like actually do real journalism, understand the situation. Dude, how is it that me and other content creators reacting to your content can do more journalism than you have ever done throughout your entire fucking career, Taylor? How is that?
Also asked him why there weren't more women streamers on the platform, and he didn't have a good response. And
isn't like most of Twitch's like higher streamers women?
And to me, I don't cover Twitch as much as I do other platforms.
That's all you talk about. You talk about Hassan all the fucking time.
But that is in part because it is such a male-dominated space. It is a culture issue to me, where if you look at the biggest creators on the platform, a lot of them are deeply, deeply misogynistic and hateful. And this culture pervades Twitch in a way that I don't think it pervades other platforms.
100%. And it doesn't surprise me that you would see then like a heightened sort of like safety concern for women on Twitch. It also makes me think about how like when I look at incidences at past conventions that I've been to, a lot of times it is featured creators who are being violent toward other featured creators. Like
can you give us an example?
Oftentimes male creators being violent toward women, and this occurs like in the privacy of people's hotel rooms. This occurs like
this happened all the time at Twitch. You said this happened at like other conventions, and then you showed another example of TwitchCon, and Taylor said, "Oh, it was just one like bad actor that did this," and yet you just showed another fucking example of it. There's a big reason why people don't know. VTuber Shiloh discusses people allegedly getting roofied at TwitchCon parties. Yeah, this was at the VTuber party.
In VIP creator spaces, this occurs at after parties where only like featured creators are allowed to be. And the reason for that is because safety does not have to do with like who's allowed in what area or who has what wristband. Safety involves like cultural misogyny and the ability for men to be violent toward women and face zero repercussions.
You guys don't care that Taylor got assaulted.
And when women come forward,
you guys can't bitch about misogyny and then not care about a woman getting sexually assaulted.
About these things, they are not taken seriously, and they're often punished more for speaking up than the men who actually assaulted them or harassed them are for doing these criminal acts.
Yeah, I also just think about the stuff that happened around TwitchCon, because of course you had the convention itself, and then you have these parties. Now, previous TwitchCons, there have been people roofied at parties. Women have been.
Oh yeah, no, this was like the only Use Me Blade thing where he would like do he would do like a super dick move, and he would like grab drinks out of women's hands, and he would just like drink all of it at once. Now, there were other cups available or other drinks available, so there was nothing stopping them from getting a new one. It's frat humor. It's disgusting. It's frat boy humor. But then it turns out only Use Me Blade was in the hospital the next day because he had overdosed on roofies. Yeah. If that gives you an idea of these fucking TwitchCon events. But only Use Me Blade apparently, like, did sexually assault a couple of women. Like, I saw, like, videos of it where he would, like, grope women and stuff. So he's not exactly a great guy either.
Assaulted. This year we had people like Jack Doherty, this like kick streamers, show up and start antagonizing, saying slurs, antagonizing people. There was all these other sort of like kick streamers and people on Rumble. Rumble's a right-wing video platform. Kick is this sort of like content for moderation free, like, you know, streaming competitor to Twitch. The creators on those platforms are some of the most toxic people on the internet. You also have people on Pump.fun live streaming.
But Hassan is a great and attractive guy. He's never toxic. He's never toxic. He's so great. He's attractive. He's amazing.
Crypto trolls that bought tickets that came in that even were antagonizing Dan Clancy, etc., and not antagonizing Dan Clancy.
Tara Lorenz is trying so hard to be a serious journalist, and she is just not a serious journalist at all. No one takes her seriously. No one gives a fuck about her.
In a good way, right? Like, not antagonizing him to make things safer.
I guess technically I do a little bit because we're reacting to this, but whatever. You get what I'm saying.
But in a negative way. And so I think it's just so hard as well because streaming culture rewards outrage. And I think a lot of these people have made a name for themselves online by going up and harassing women, attacking people, like being awful. And they can just buy tickets to this convention and get their content. They know that there will be these prominent women here who they can.
Yeah, that also completely goes against your narrative about Twitch having good security and letting these people into their events, by the way. You realize that also goes against your own narrative too. The thing you just told us, allowing people like Neon and Jack Doherty into these events, and like all these IRL kick streamers to fucking publicly troll these people, and some of which even get sexually harassed or sexually assaulted. Like, that's a fucking like huge like dent in your narrative. I don't even know if Taylor realizes that's a huge self-report in her narrative.
Harass.
And so much of this stems from the objectification of women, which is a huge problem on Twitch.
You guys don't care that Emiru got assaulted. You guys didn't even watch the video that Emiru put out. Like, why would I ever listen to your guys' opinion on this?
Because it reflects the broader trends of objectifying women in society. And so when I think about Twitch and its issues with women, I think also about...
I have to speed this up. This is so stupid. I'm putting this up on like 1.25 times speed.
Things like community guidelines that patrol women's body parts, how that's been a really controversial issue on Twitch. And the way that the community often responds to these things is to further objectify women, to further sexualize women. And the problem is when men don't view women as equal to them, when they don't view them as people, when they do view them as these sexual objects, that is where this type of violence...
Then why did so many men talk about Emiru's assault and like applied equal proportionality? Like why were people online proportioned about Emiru's assault then? Which is crazy because like whenever something happens online, typically a lot of it is overblown, but this was one of the few times where it was actually like worth the outrage, because like this has been an ongoing problem for TwitchCon. And this entire video is the both of you being like just like sweeping for Twitch. Just sweep, 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 sweep. You guys sweep better than any fucking woman I know in real life. Damn. I guess I proved them right. I guess I'm not beating the misogyny allegations. Fuck. Damn, that's tough. I love women.
So you can't stop this type of violence until you attack the ideology behind it, and that can never be solved with like security measures. It has to be a broader cultural effort.
Which is why all of these men online, a lot of them, don't give a fuck about women's safety. Like,
and you do?
You know, we have the loudest voices in the room claiming to, you know, protect Emiru and care about, you know, violence against women. Blah, blah, blah. If people like Ethan...
You were sweeping so hard for Dan Clancy earlier, and then you literally turned your fucking back on him and said that it was all his fault and that he did such a bullshit PR response, even though you didn't give him any meaningful pushback, and you never watched Emiru's video. Like, I don't care for this virtue signal, Taylor. Like, enough with this fucking virtue signal about you, like, I care about women, but these other people don't care about women, and you never even watched Emiru's video of her account on it.
Klein, who is simultaneously launched...
What does Ethan Klein have to do with this? Ethan Klein has nothing to do with TwitchCon's problems. Dude, Taylor Lorenz is deranged. She has Ethan Klein derangement syndrome. Ethan Klein has nothing to do with this whatsoever, and she has to find a way to make this entire situation about Ethan Klein. She is fucking deranged.
Misogynistic hate campaigns against countless women, including myself and you. I think of these like live...
Most of Ethan Klein's women, community has women in it.
Stream fail, or this like you know, these weird like drama slop accounts that have been posting every single thing that I have said about this Twitch incident, right, and trying to make it seem like somehow like I don't care about women's safety, which is
you don't care, Taylor.
Crazy.
You don't give a fuck.
To the point that this female streamer, Sinna, who's very well known, who, you know, she was even saying like, oh, you know, Taylor Lorenz started repeating a bunch of libs of TikTok conspiracies about me. Like, no hate to Sinna. I don't think she probably even knows my work. Like, you know, this woman is probably...
No one gives a fuck about you, Taylor. Like, you're not that important.
Dealing with a lot herself. But you see this content sort of repackaged to further misogynistic hate campaigns, right? To further this misogynist hate campaign against me and you and others who actually report on gender-based violence. And I think that's what's so disturbing as well, is the weaponization of violence against women to further violent campaigns against women.
This is back to the basics of just like conservative rhetoric in general. And like spaces like Livestream Fails, they lean conservative. They use slurs. They make fun of marginalized people. Like, they contribute to this very ideology that puts women in danger. It's also so ironic to me that Ethan...
You just showed fucking Denims, who's like... Don't you guys, like, Taylor is, like, crying about misogyny, and yet your GOAT is Hassan Parker, who actively denied that Israeli women got raped on October 7th. Cool.
Klein would act like he cares about women.
That's your GOAT, by the way. That's the person that you look up to and that you have heart eyes for, Taylor.
Safety and women on Twitch and misogyny on Twitch, when I think about famously he like couldn't stop himself from laughing at...
Ethan Klein has nothing to do with Twitch's problems. These people are so fucking snart-brained that they have to put Ethan Klein in like everything when he has nothing to do with it.
QT Cinderella, when she was talking about being deepfaked and having her likeness exploited. Like, he mocked her, and then when he tried to apologize...
The Cutie Cinderella situation, I talked about this when I watched the Atriot Gavin Newsom video, like a way back when. I don't even remember how long ago it was. I think it was like a little over a month ago. But like, the deepfake situation's terrible, you know. Cutie Cinderella got deepfaked, you know, non-consensually. That's not like a form of sexual assault, or like, it may not even be like sexual harassment. It's just like, you know, one of your coworkers, like your Twitch coworkers, was like jerking off the deepfake porn of you and paying for it. That's shitty. That's gross. And that's very uncomfortable. But like, she went on stream and like cried and like had a huge fucking like song and dance about it. Like, going on stream to cry is performative. In a lot of cases. Not in every single case. There are times where it can be genuine. But I would say a majority of the time, if you go on stream just for the purpose of crying, it is super performative. It's not real. And I doubt that Cutie Cinderella is traumatized from it. I wouldn't doubt that she was grossed out about it. Like, I'm sure Cutie Cinderella was very grossed out by it. But I don't think there's any trauma there. All right? Like, I don't know what to tell you. It's wrong. I think what Atriot did, like, that's gross and that's wrong and that's weird. To like enable AI deepfake porn, I think that's very degenerate. But like, that's, I don't know. I feel like people need to like bring the situation where it's at.
For it, he like mocked her again. So it's like these individuals who are pushing these campaigns are so clearly coming at it from a bad faith perspective, because they demonstrably not only do they
Your goat is Hassan Parker, who said that women did not get raped on October 7th.
not care about women's safety, but they are part of the problem.
Oh, great. I just opened Twitter and the top comment is Ethan Klein.
Why are you scrolling through Twitter in the middle of an interview? Dude, she's so terminally online. She is scrolling through Twitter in the middle of a fucking interview. That's how terminally online Taylor Lorenz is.
Response to Taylor Lorenz claiming he's leading a misogynistic harassment campaign. I don't know what you're talking about, you lunatic psychopath. She's crazy. Keeps lecturing our community, which is majority female, about how I'm dangerous to women. Ethan.
Yeah, that's literally the point I just brought up, by the way. That, like, Ethan Klein's community is a majority female.
Klein, women can also participate in misogynistic hate campaigns. They're out.
You're saying that a majority of all of Ethan Klein's community, who's a majority of women, that all those women are misogynistic. And look at this fucking woman, Kat. She's like all geeked up. Oh my god, they're so misogynistic. I'm so geeked up at this misogyny that I get to report it. Oh my god, I'm having a huge song and dance about it. I'm so geeked up about it. We're smiling at misogyny. You can't make this up. This is fucking... You guys have Ethan Klein derangement syndrome.
Actually often a core part of it.
I keep seeing people say, like, wait until you find out that most misogynistic comments are made by women. And I'm like, wait until you find out. Like, you guys know nothing about feminism. This has been a core feature of the feminist movement for the entire...
Oh, great. We're defending Amber Heard now. Okay. Amber Heard is a victim now. Here's the thing. Amber Heard... Like, Johnny Depp is no saint, all right? Like, he is not... He's got skeletons in his closet. He is no saint. Amber Heard is a million times worse. Anyone that says that Amber Heard is a victim, red fucking flag. Do not listen to anything that person says. Fucking discard that opinion. Amber Heard is not a fucking saint. Red flag. She is not a victim.
Entire existence. Like, people who actually care about women's safety are fully aware that women perpetuate misogyny. It is like these misogynistic men who have no grasp of what they're even talking about.
And they tokenize women, right? They tokenize the women in their community to say, like, oh, look.
This video it's making me red-pilled. Like, this is, like, I make fun of red-pill content, but, like, I'm like, super red-pilled this video.
You know, all these women support me. And it is such like Republican politics as well. I mean, you mentioned this is sort of this conservative.
Twitch is like a far left space. Not to say that there aren't people who are conservative leaning on Twitch, but Twitch is primarily a left leaning space.
Ideology. You know, I posted this online, but it's like, let me direct a torrent of harassment and abuse towards a female journalist and repeat right-wing smears about her to thousands of people to show how much I care about women's safety. Like, it's also like you see this a lot in the UK where they weaponize, or here, right, with immigrants, right, where they're weaponize, you know, the rape of a woman by an undocumented person, or violence against women to hate on trans women, to hate on marginalized groups. And women's pain and violence against women is so often weaponized to push right-wing reactionary causes. And this is no different.
It reminds me of while campaigning, Donald Trump said that he would protect women whether they like it or not. And then as soon as he was put back in office, his administration defunded pathways for women to report when they were sexually violated by federal agents.
Great. So what does this have to do with Twitch again? I mean, this is all terrible, but like, what does this have to do with Twitch?
So it's like you see this cycle over and over again where the idea of protecting women and women's safety has been so thoroughly weaponized by the right that it's actually used as a cudgel as they take away protections from women.
So everybody that is criticizing Twitch for basically sweeping and like trying to do PR bullshit for Emiru getting assaulted is right-wing, is a far-right person. Okay. Yeah. Nice. Nice. Great journalism. Yeah.
As they objectify women and ultimately as they enact this violence toward women.
Which is the ideology that a lot of these men support. Like, they do not support actual accountability. They don't want Twitch
Your goat is Hassan Parker, who said rapes didn't happen on October 7th.
to rid itself of this culture of misogyny. It's a culture that they benefit from. A lot of these male Twitch streamers, they benefit from this culture of misogyny. They benefit, by having women objectified. Like, they don't want to change the culture. They just want more security theater that doesn't keep women safe. And they don't actually care about women's safety.
100%. I think, like, when I was reading some of the commentary about this situation, I even saw people using it as, like, another excuse to bring up Amber Heard from the perspective of, like, not believing that Amber
You brought up Amber Heard. I haven't seen anyone bring up Amber Heard at all in response to the fucking Emiru thing. Like, the only ones bringing up Amber Heard was you. You brought up Amber Heard, and she's not a victim.
Heard is a victim, and people on Twitch were major contributors to the idea that, like, Amber Heard was an abuser and she wasn't a victim. And I'm like, how can you
Oh my god. We're actually going full, like, Amber Heard victim narrative here. Unironically, in a video about Emiru getting sexually assaulted at TwitchCon. That is the narrative we're going in this video, is that Amber Heard was a victim. Amber Heard's not a good person. She was a million times worse than Johnny Depp. Now, don't get me wrong. Johnny Depp is not great either. He ain't no saint. But, like, Amber Heard is far worse. Million times worse.
you sit there and not believe Amber Heard and pretend that you care about women's safety? If you don't believe Amber Heard, just like bar none, like you don't care about women's safety. And time again, like this
Amber Heard's not a good person.
platform and every other platform have contributed to like these mass gaslighting events where women's pain is exacerbated under the guise of like caring about.
So criticism towards women, misogynistic. Fucking criticism towards men, totally fine. We're really becoming red-pilled in this video. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you pushed people, like, to become fucking red-pilled in this very video.
Abuse. It's so ridiculous and it's so maddening. And these men don't, like, they choose not to see through it because they know that they will ultimately benefit from upholding these systems of misogyny.
I also think that, I wrote about this recently in relation to like the Hassan Piker dog collar incident, but you see these out of context clips constantly used and weaponized in these.
Hassan probably shot the dog. Like, I saw your last coverage on this, and you lied so much in that video. And Hassan definitely shocked the dog, and you're saying it's out of context, even though Hassan, like, there's a video of Hassan yanking the dog's tail and him not being great with taking care of pets and owners, and him... It's likely, it is a form of animal abuse, to, like, keep your dog in the same space over and over and over again and training them to be, not roam around your house. Guess what? It's totally fine to have an animal come up to you on stream and, like, climb up onto your lap. Streamers have cats go onto them all the time. Like, it's normal. But Hassan wants Kaya as a set piece. So Hassan more than likely shot the dog, and he lies about it, saying that he didn't shock the dog, he made it worse for himself, and now you are saying it's out of context, and you're just lying about it.
Campaigns. And I think that actually that video of that person scanning their wristband and how misrepresented that was is like a perfect example of this. Like, people coalesce around a narrative, and it's a motivated narrative. Like in this case, a lot of these top streamers.
I'm gonna believe what I see in the evidence instead of a hack journalist who has lied so much. You are an incredibly dishonest person, Taylor. You are so fucking dishonest. I don't think I can name a single time where you've ever said a truthful thing ever. Like, I except maybe that Dan Clancy gave a bullshit PR response, but even then, that's giving you too much credit because that's you trying to shift the blame off of yourself for not giving Dan Clancy enough pushback.
Hate Dan Clancy. I have no allegiance to Dan Clancy. He could be a terrible CEO. Like, I've only reported.
You said he gave a bullshit you tried to throw him under the bus earlier in this video.
The company, like, marginally, but, like, I'm not here to, like, cap for any tech CEO, so, whatever. But they're sort of motivated to push it out and to show him as this failure, and they think that sort of, like, maybe leveraging this event will further that goal. And so they launched this, like, essentially a disinformation campaign where they're sort of, like, taking all these out-of-context clips, mischaracterizing them, and using them to push this narrative. And it's really frustrating to me because we both reported on this a lot, but, like, the way people get information now is from this, like, 3000 account or whatever, which is I guess some teenage streamer fan. Like
Yeet's kind of goated though. I will say actually no, I was about to say something. It was related to the Emiru recent stuff with Mizkif that happened, but even then that's not really Yeet's fault. No, that's like a minor criticism. No, Yeet's pretty goated. I'll stick with it. Yeet's pretty goated.
these sort of like these distributed news systems, these Reddit accounts, et cetera, people that aren't doing actual reporting, right? People that aren't calling up the company that, you know, makes those scanners or calling up whatever, or they're just like emailing a customer service.
Yeah, and what I do is journalism. I do great journalism, but bad journalism. What I do, fantastic journalism. I do research, even though I just scroll through Twitter and I block my replies. And even though I advocate for free speech, you can't reply to a single one of my tweets to prove me wrong or whatever. And then I do great journalism, even though I have to fucking lie in every single video and every single coverage that I make. Taylor Lorenz, do us a favor and delete all of your fucking social media accounts. Please.
Rep, right? Like in the Hassan dog collar situation, like they don't actually do any reporting. They don't go to look at the actual collar, right? They're just like doing slop content basically that mimics journalism. But they, even when presented with any sort of facts that counter their preconceived belief, they double down, they triple down. You cannot convince.
This entire video is just like disinformation sweeping for Twitch. That's this whole video. And it's so boring. It's such a fucking boring watch.
Them that what they've seen is wrong because they keep saying, well, how can I, so you're saying I can't trust my own eyes.
It's so exhausting, and it is so reminiscent of like the rhetoric.
Because there's no other context that would justify Emiru getting assaulted, and you tried to say that Emiru getting assaulted was out of context. You said that earlier in this video.
We saw during Deputy Heard, which has informed so much of like how these events are consumed on the internet and who is granted credibility and who is taken seriously. I also think like another great ongoing example of why surveillance doesn't keep women safe is this ongoing viral discourse around the DoorDash TikTok incident.
Yes. For people that don't know, this DoorDash woman, this delivery...
Girl... There's a lot of misinformation going around about this situation. There's like, it's actually kind of weird how much misinformation is going on. Like some people truly believe she got assaulted. Some, my take, she wasn't assaulted. Now what she experienced, you know, like she went up to the porch. The guy was like pretty much naked. When I saw the video, it was censored because it was a re-upload. The original video got taken down by TikTok because she uploaded it uncensored. So I guess he was fully naked. So probably that's why it was censored. But yeah, he was fully naked out. It definitely, apparently it was in New York State. According to New York laws, if you look at the New York law, it would be like some form of indecent exposure. And that's wrong. That's wrong. It's indecent exposure. And then there were people saying that the guy is totally blameless and innocent, which is also a very not great interpretation of the situation. There's just a lot of misinformation. There was even like an AI-generated photo going around of like the house or whatever. It's like it's actually very weird how much misinformation was going on about the whole DoorDash girl thingy. But yeah, no, the guy is not great in this situation. It was a form of voyeurism or like indecent exposure. But she was not assaulted. She was running the narrative that she was sexually assaulted, but she was not assaulted. So yeah, they're both wrong in that situation. But the narrative that you guys are running with is saying, this is another reason why more surveillance does not mean girl safety. Why? Why? Is it because you can't lie that you were assaulted? Is that legitimately your argument? That's the only thing I can think of that you're going to say that. Because she recorded the thing and tried to run the narrative that it was assault, even though in the video she clearly wasn't assaulted. I'm at a loss for words for how purely awful this journalism is.
Man came up to a door delivery. This man ordered delivery. The door was wide open. This man had his pants down and, you know, was sort of appeared.
All right. Taylor, I don't even know why you would show this video uncensored. All right, I'm cutting this out of the video. Yeah, I'm not. My God, dude, fucking Taylor is such an idiot. Why would you show this uncensored? You know damn well I can't show this in a YouTube. I'm not showing this in a YouTube video. I'm playing it safe. I'm not showing this.
Be sleeping. We don't know if he was actually asleep. Theoretically, he was probably not asleep because he did order the DoorDash order and had exposed himself to this woman. She recorded that.
Yeah, and she accused him of assault when she wasn't assaulted. It's a form of indecent exposure. That's wrong. It's wrong. Absolutely. It's very gross and disgusting. Especially now seeing the video uncensored for the very first time. That's definitely indecent exposure. And if he gets banned from I'm not really mad that he got banned from ordering from DoorDash. I'm not really mad because that was within like 15 to 20 minutes of fucking ordering DoorDash. But like, it's just like the narrative is just so like out of control. And there was so much misinformation about this topic.
Posted that online. She was promptly fired from DoorDash for violating privacy guidelines. I guess like filming a customer without his consent. Okay, fine. But the point is that she recorded a sexual assault, as you mentioned.
There's no sexual assault. You saw the video, Taylor. I know damn well she saw the video because she literally just played it on screen. You saw the video, Taylor. And you're saying it was sexual assault. How do you call yourself a journalist, Taylor? How do you call yourself a journalist and not be ashamed of yourself?
led to this like days of discourse and abuse. And now we have this AI smear campaign happening right now where essentially she's being attacked and re-victimized and people claiming all sorts of things about her.
She's not victimized, but yes, there is misinformation going on about this topic. From you too, by the way, you contributed to it. And I would say your contribution of it, Taylor, has been disinformation. You've been intentionally trying to lie to people about TwitchCon, about Hassan, about everything you talk about.
100%. And it's like that to me is such a perfect example of why surveillance doesn't keep women safe, because these types of clips can always be weaponized against women. Like, it's so—
How? She recorded a video of fucking indecent exposure and got herself fired. Is that the narrative? That, like, oh my god. The fucking brainworms.
So frustrating, because at the end of the day, like, if the ideology blames women for violence that happens to them, then no amount of security or proof or evidence will ever be enough. And
you're fucking stupid. Jesus Christ, you have the fucking brain of a rock, dude. Oh my god. She is saying that because she recorded herself not getting sexually assaulted and running the narrative that she was sexually assaulted, and she couldn't successfully run that narrative, she is actually saying that that is a reason why more surveillance is harmful to women. That is literally what she is saying. She's not going to word it like that because she knows how ridiculous it sounds, but that is essentially what she is saying here.
See this time and time again, and in fact, having all of this material has only served to make this woman less safe. But if she hadn't captured that video, nobody would believe her, and even with that video, people still don't—
What do you mean no one would believe her? No one believes her even with the video. That's the point I'm making.
Don't believe her. So it's like, it really is a lose-lose situation for women and girls, like, time and time again.
Exactly. I mean, I am just so appalled because when you see that video of the man with his pants down, right? Like, and then—
Also, let's, I'm gonna edit out all the instances they keep re-showing that clip because I don't know why Taylor thought it was a good idea to show that uncensored in an actual YouTube video.
Of course, we can't know the motivations, blah, 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 blah. Whether that was intentional or not, that is sexual abuse, right? Like, that is appalling what happened.
It's voyeurism and indecent exposure, but sex abuse is pushing it, for sure. That implies that, like, there was, like, sexual exploitation. That wasn't, like, listen, he is gross, and it's very, like, inappropriate as fuck, and he should be banned from ordering DoorDash, but even sex abuse is, like, really pushing it.
But people are litigating. Oh, well, why did she do this? Why did she do this? The video is so quickly weaponized against her. And that is what a lot of video evidence does, right? Like, I mean, the Amber Heard thing is a perfect example too, where like you saw even photographs of her own bruises were litigated. Like, there is no amount of evidence or surveillance or whatever that could possibly vindicate a woman because people have already decided that the woman is the villain and the woman is guilty and she is the aggressor and she is wrong in these situations.
Also—
Oh my god.
like, it's worth noting that this stuff isn't new, because even predating a lot of the technology we have now, like, studies about bias—
I'm gonna speed this up even further. This is actually so stupid.
show and have shown historically that you can show two people the exact same, like, audio recording, video clip, picture, or like wall of text, and they can both walk away being like, oh, well, it's clear as day, like, my preconceived opinion is reflected in this evidence. So it's like there's not like a universal understanding of what footage reveals, and in fact it can so easily be weaponized against, like, victims, and it happens every single day.
I want to get back to Twitch.
Your goat Hassan said that there wasn't enough evidence that women got raped on October 7th, even though there was a literal UN report saying that rapes did indeed occur on October 7th by Hamas. That is what your fucking goat, your fucking high school crush says, Taylor, by the way. Hassan advocates for more surveillance and more evidence to actually believe a narrative. But now you're saying that too much evidence and too much of that doesn't save women, and that's not enough for women. Wow. Wow. Just wow.
Because I do think, like, you know, we should talk about, like, kind of what should have been done and, like, what can be done to actually fix this. Like, a couple things, too, I'll say is, like, I don't know why Twitch has TwitchCon. I guess it must be a moneymaker for them, but no other platform has, like, an entire convention dedicated to that platform as far as—
YouTube has VidCon. What? YouTube has VidCon? See, this is what I'm talking about. Oh my god, dude. It's like everything in her fucking video is just like disinformation. Everything is just fucking, just like, nothing is correct in her videos. Just like everything is awful.
Because I know, like, I mean, YouTube sponsors VidCon, but even VidCon is so diminished, it seems perhaps counterproductive to even have this event. But if it does go forward, I do think that there are changes that need to be made, and, like, it starts with confronting these systemic issues. Like, I think the first thing that they should do is work aggressively to change the culture of the platform, crack down on misogynistic hate speech, demonetize, you know, content creators that—
I'm pretty sure Twitch already banned, like, they banned, like, okay, whatever. I don't even care anymore.
Are attacking women, brigading women, and start working to cultivate relationships with women content creators.
This goes for a number of social media platforms, but among, like, the ranks of the most followed people, you will always have, like, these violent misogynists who directly harm and endanger—
That's more of a problem on Rumble and Kick than it is on Twitch. But then again, Twitch doesn't give a fuck about their women whatsoever. They don't care. They don't care about women's safety whatsoever.
Women on the platform, women in their audience, and nothing is done about that. And there is a trickle-down effect where it's like, if some of the most followed people on Twitch face no repercussions and are actually like, they gain.
Neon doesn't even stream on Twitch. He streams on Rumble and Kick or whatever the fuck. Neon doesn't even stream on Twitch.
It's from misogyny. They gain popularity. They enrich themselves. Like, they gain status from being misogynistic. So as long as that is the case, it will trickle down into fan behavior. And people going to these types of conventions will learn from the people who basically rule this platform, who are the most visible people on this platform, that this type of behavior is not just tolerated, but encouraged. And then when those people aren't held accountable, it just perpetuates this cycle over and over and over again. When I speak to experts in gender-based violence, something that I hear time and time again is that we've never even tried to hold men accountable for violence against women. Like, we've never even attempted to instill consequences, like widespread consequences for harming women. And so as long as that is the case, of course it will continue.
This whole Emiru situation, we've tried to have accountability for the whole Emiru situation, which is, by the way, in case you guys are stupid, which I think you guys are pretty stupid, and you're also trying to lie, that is the topic of your whole video about Emiru's assault being horrible and people wanting Twitch to be accountable. That's the whole fucking point of this video.
Because it's not just that there's no deterrent to this behavior, but it's actually rewarded by the platform and socially by other men.
Yeah, I mean, I think of this guy, Jake Lucky, who's this gamer who almost 500,000 followers, quote tweeted this tweet that I posted about security and how actually Twitch was quite secure, and he quote tweeted this video of Neon acting.
So, Taylor, your tweet says, you guys need to start living in reality. It's simply false to say that so much security at TwitchCon was non-existent when it was so insanely strict. Yeah, so by the way, Jake Lucky, by the way, he quote tweeted you. He's making fun of you in this tweet. Like, Jake Lucky is literally, like, retweeting you and making fun of you for your narrative that Twitch, it was, like, so insanely strict about their security when they obviously weren't.
Abhorrently, right? And taking advantage of the fact that he had...
I feel like Taylor Lorenz is just, like, at this point, it could just be her being a contrarian. Like, she just wants to report whatever the opposite of the popular opinion is or whatever, just because it's a contrarian opinion to have. So she just does it for the sake of playing devil's advocate.
Basically carte blanche to do whatever he wanted at that convention because he had the highest level of access given his status as a streamer. And he goes, Twitch's security was insanely strict. And he shows Neon sitting behind Deshae Frost's meet and greet table. And as I said then, like, this man is a Twitch creator who is credentialed, who was invited. That's my whole point.
Yeah, by the way, you just proved Jake Lucky right, by the way. You just proved him right that Neon was able to just, like, impersonate as another fucking VTuber for a meet and greet. And that Twitch, this proves that Twitch's security was actually not top-notch because they just let him in. They didn't care.
Is that, like, you have the worst people at the top acting like this. That trickles down. And it's so disappointing because this bad faith guy, Jake, of course, gets almost 1 million views on his tweet. Thousands and thousands of likes and retweets.
Because he made fun of you proving you wrong. It wasn't bad faith at all.
And I'm, like, trying to respond, and I think I have, 37 retweets. And just a torrent of misogyny.
It's so funny when you try to fucking... It's very funny, Taylor. You complain about, like, trying to respond to this person, but yet you have all of your replies on Twitter locked from anyone that doesn't follow you, or that you follow, rather. You have your, and then you also advocate for free speech, but then you lock your replies from anyone ever talking to you.
Hate towards me, like, in his replies. So even after the bad behavior coming from the top at TwitchCon, the bad behavior is continuing online, and they're continuing to drive hate and harassment towards women, using violence against women as a sort of pretense on the internet. I think we just need to call out this behavior and start listening to actual women.
It's so clearly...
Listen to actual women when she didn't watch Emiru's video. You can't make this shit up. She didn't watch Emiru's video, her account of it, and she is saying you should listen to women. Holy virtue signal.
Bad faith. Because it's like...
Holy fucking virtue signal, dude.
If you agree that this streamer is misogynistic, then surely you're gonna, like, continue to call this person out, and surely, like, you'll consistently denounce this behavior in all forms. No, of course not. This kind of tweet, like, in itself is bad faith harassment of women, like, as you just said. It's just under the guise of, like, oh, you guys are in the wrong. And it is so exhausting because all of the people who are joining in on this bandwagon, they all know what they're doing. They all know that they don't care about women. But when you are arguing in bad faith, you have no requirement to, like, be morally consistent. You have no requirement to actually believe the things you say. And everyone else joining in on this bandwagon comes from the exact same perspective.
Very insightful, Miss I didn't go to TwitchCon's, so I definitely know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
And so nothing will be done. And if TwitchCon were to continue happening, then this behavior will continue happening because no one in the community actually cares about it. They just want to use it as an example to weaponize against their own political enemies. I think the fact that like Hassan has been brought up in regards to this so many times gives the entire game away, because what on earth does that have to do with these incidents? Nothing.
You brought up Ethan Klein earlier when he had nothing to do with TwitchCon. Fuck out of here. This is so hypocritical. You can't pick a struggle. Pick a struggle. You can't complain about people bringing other Twitch streamers involved into a situation that could potentially be unrelated, and then bring a streamer or bring a content creator like Ethan Klein who had nothing to do with the TwitchCon sexual misconduct that's been going on, and then bring him in. You can't have it. Pick a struggle. The two of you. You can't have it both ways.
But this is political gaslighting, like in its purest form, and all of these communities love engaging in it.
The Hassan stuff is so appalling because, like, the first thing you'll hear, and people were literally saying this as well, like, after I interviewed Dan Clancy. Again, I'm a mainstream technology reporter, right? Like, I also interview Twitch's head of product. I interview leaders of...
No, Taylor, no one takes you seriously. You're not a real journalist. Like, you're a wannabe influencer that wants to have, like, sway over things and wants to be professional, but you are a terminally online woman in her 40s who has a high school crush on somebody that's, like, nearly 10 years younger than them. It's honestly, like, kind of fucking, like, it's honestly very pathetic.
Tech companies all the time.
Isn't Taylor Lorenz married? Like, I heard she got, like, engaged at one point. I don't know if she, like, went through with that marriage. I pray to God for the husband's sake that she didn't.
Not only did Dan Clancy speak to me, he spoke to Bloomberg, like he speaks to other technology journalists. But on the internet, if you listen to these accounts, it's all just like, it's Taylor's relationship with Hassan. And, you know, that's why he's talking to her because of some Hassan thing. She wants to fuck Hassan.
They're kind of based, though, not gonna lie. Like, that's kind of true.
He's obsessed with Hassan. Like, it's disgusting. And it's this dismissal also of my own credentials as a journalist.
Just because you think it's disgusting doesn't make it any less true, Taylor.
It's like, and you know, what reporters do. It's always sort of like reframing this woman and her accomplishments or her career in the context of this man and this man streamer, right?
I've also seen like viral posts taking Emiru's response where she explains the situation and turning it into a meme and saying that like she's being blackpilled.
She's citing Grums. She's citing fucking Grums on Twitter, the fucking weirdo blue checkmark anti-woke person. They're citing fucking Grums in a video about Emiru's assault.
So basically, they are using this
Oh my
incident to say
God.
that like women who are victimized are becoming conservative and holding conservative ideology as a result. The sad thing about that is that there is truth to the idea that like when women experience systemic misogyny and sexism, it does sometimes like lead to people becoming more conservative because it's like such a backwards ideology that is just so propagandistic in nature. It's the same thing where it's like when conservative far-right groups take examples of like white women being abused or even murdered by like men of color, they will take those incidences and they will weaponize it against entire immigrant communities in support of their far-right ideologies. And they regularly do this, like despite the pleas of the families of these women and even of these women themselves to not weaponize these cases. But it just goes to show in itself this is a form of objectification of women. Like they don't actually care that she was violated. They don't actually care that she was assaulted. They just want
If you say so, Kat.
to further objectify her and use her to push their own ideology.
Exactly. And I think it's so funny that the same Jake Lucky guy, who's of course like dunking on me or whatever, is also boosting.
He was making fun of you. You're kind of implying that he was making fun of you because you knew you're not being a fucking honest person.
Clip of this guy American Dad Live asking Dan Clancy basically like why hasn't he banned Hassan? Like that's the subtext. He's saying like, you know, would he properly enforce certain
Yeah, and then Dan Clancy gave like the most PR non-answer. Like I saw the clip. He gave like the most PR non-answer to this.
streamers, what certain streamers have said that America deserved 9/11, veterans deserve PTSD. It's basically like, why haven't you deplatformed the people that I don't like? And, you know,
Okay, so are we just not going to address the things that they said, the really bad things like veterans deserve PTSD or America deserve 9/11? Are we just not going to address that part? Are we just going to be like, deplatform people I don't like? You brought up Ethan Klein earlier in this video. I could flip that logic on you, saying that you want Ethan Klein deplatformed. I could flip that on you, Taylor, very quickly. You are... Horseshoe theory is a real thing, I'm telling you.
seeing this conservative bad faith American Dad guy as if he's holding like Twitch accountable in some way.
And like the truth of the matter is, politically speaking, there is misogyny on like all sides of
You don't seem to be interested in holding Twitch accountable at all because you're sweeping for Twitch when they have been responsible for multiple sexual misconduct cases that have occurred at their events.
the aisle. Like there's not like one place politically where you can go where like women are actually taken seriously. However, like generally speaking, most people who actually value women and who actually oppose misogyny are going to be progressives. So the fact that like all of this comes back to this like conservative agenda just goes to show like how bad faith it is. And it's just like,
So anyone criticizing Twitch, conservative. automatically you're conservative if you criticize Twitch. Cool.
It blows my mind that people are still
there was a lot of left-leaning people that criticized Twitch, by the way.
falling for this idea that like conservatives actually care about women. They don't. Like, they're just like objectifying and using violence against women as a way to
You guys never even watched Emiru's video on her account of her assault. You never even watched her video. you're like bitching about misogyny, and you're going on like a bitch rant about it, and you didn't even fucking watch the video from the person who was assaulted. You didn't even watch her account of it. What happened to believing all women?
further an agenda that is, again...
And to be clear, you shouldn't believe all women. I don't care if I get canceled for that. You shouldn't believe all women. Because there are people who can lie about stuff. But you need... Like, Emiru has been pretty credible about most of the things that she's talked about. I haven't seen her lie once, so why didn't you go to her for her account of what happened? Instead of... You just, like, questioned fucking Dan Clancy. You interviewed him, and you barely gave any pushback.
Objectifying and violent toward women.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be so hard for Twitch, you know, to ban streaming. Like, this is a streaming convention. I highly doubt that they're going to ban live streaming at the live streaming convention, if only because on the actual floor of the convention, like, there are so many booths set up for live streaming, and there are all these companies that want to demo their technology, and so they're showing off live streaming. But I do think that there's just a cultural shift that can happen. I don't know if you've attended the National Association of Broadcasters conference in Vegas. It's this massive, there's tens of thousands of people that go. It's huge. It takes over like the Vegas Convention Center, and it's for broadcasters. And there's a huge live streaming aspect. Like, they invite a lot of streamers. It's all basically like TV news people from around the country, but anybody that sort of broadcasts live footage. There are lots of content creators. They have an entire creator track, but you don't see this type of behavior because it's a professional event, and it's very focused on like professionalism. And you know, you have people live streaming all day and demoing their technology, but there's not this sort of antagonistic energy to it. I don't know if there's a way for them to automatically ban Rumble creators. Obviously, I think certain people should be banned from the venue. I don't think Jack Doherty was allowed in the venue even in this year, but I feel like culture.
That also was another security violation, but you said that there was like only one security violation that happened earlier with Emiru, and you just showed us an example of another security violation. But TwitchCon was very, very secure, by the way.
They have to do something to change the behavior on Twitch, because until then, I don't think the platform will be successful. I think it will continue to remain niche. And let's be real, I brought this in my interview to Dan Clancy. This is the 4th year that Twitch has seen declining user base. And yes, it's still up from 2016 or whatever, but when you look at the broader social landscape and ecosystem, Twitch is down here, right? We have YouTube, TikTok, Meta, then there's sort of like these like lower tier platforms. And I just don't think that the platform will scale. And simultaneously, we do have a lot more women entering the live streaming space. I mentioned Amazon itself has live streaming now for
pretty sure most of Twitch's like live streamers are women. I'm pretty sure.
Shopping primarily, but you have women live streaming on the Like to Know It app, on Instagram Live. You have a lot of lifestyle
The fuck is Like to Know? What? I've never even heard of this app.
Influencers going live all the time. Like TikTok Live, of course, is massive, and they're trying to get people to multi-stream on TikTok Live. Not that any of those spaces are safe for women. They all have their own problems, but I think Twitch seems to be sort of further and further declining. And in that sense, I do think it's a failure, of Dan Clancy to not change that.
They're just like virtue signaling so hard about women's safety, and they didn't even watch Emiru's account of her assault. I just don't care for it. It's so like you're boring. You all are boring. You guys are such an easy read. You're such an easy fucking read. I can read both of you like a book.
Culture.
Yeah, and I think
you are not like, you're not complicated. You're like reading a fucking book at like the 1st grade level.
that it is like it'd be very difficult to change the culture of a platform that I think particularly grew around misogyny. Like, it would take so much work. I don't think it's a project that could be accomplished within the span of a year. It's also like such a hard thing to do when it's ultimately reflective. Like, the culture on Twitch is reflective of the broader culture of misogyny, and the project of dismantling misogyny is one that will continue forever. It will never be finished. And so I think that like it's a really difficult job to do, but what they're doing now isn't, they're not even really trying to like dismantle misogyny. They're not even having the conversation. So it would at least have to start there. And I think like your question of like why there aren't more women on the platform is such a good one, because it really gets to the heart of the issue of like, if the culture doesn't even accept women to begin with, then of course you will continue to have these issues.
And of course they're not going to do any of this when they're potentially about to be hauled in front of Congress under a Trump administration. I asked Dan Clancy about this in my interview, but there was this hearing, it was postponed, the government shut down. I think they will eventually have a hearing. They're pulling up the CEOs of Discord, Steam, Reddit, and Twitch following the Charlie Kirk shooting, arguing that it's radical, whatever. Essentially, Twitch is the one platform where like Hassan Piker basically is. I think all of this is an effort to basically deplatform him and other sort of leftists on Twitch. Twitch is also the one platform that hasn't caved to government pressure yet to censor speech. And I think that that's going to be harder and harder to do. So I highly doubt that they're going to like turn around and start, banning misogynistic streamers. I think that would just so quickly be weaponized against them.
Hassan is like one of the biggest fucking womanizers that denied like rapes happened on October 7th, and he fucking womanized. He's like one of the biggest womanizers on Twitch. And he's your goat, Taylor.
By the Trump administration, and would be used to potentially try to get the platform shut down or to punish it in some way.
100%. And I think that like when I saw all of this unfolding on social media, that was my first thought, is like to think about the political backdrop and the context under which all of this is happening, which is that Twitch is being subjected to like a very highly funded, like very specific, like bad faith campaign around issues that they do intersect with women's safety.
I'm not gonna believe whatever your narrative is for this, because you guys have just been so like deceptive throughout this whole thing. Like Taylor Lorenz did like a whole dark money thing saying that like Democrats were like funding the dark money program or whatever, even though conservatives want dark money more than Democrats do.
But they are so far removed from like the topic of discussion around like the specific assault or the specific environment. But it's so hard to have a conversation about it without recognizing that like so much of this stems from that bad faith attempt to ultimately deplatform Hassan Piker and to punish Twitch for allowing like this.
I don't care. I don't care. You guys are concern trolling so much and you're reading so deep into it. You're not focused on having any accountability from Twitch. You're not focused on actually making this a better problem. You just want to concern troll. You want to virtue signal and concern troll.
Type of progressive anti-Israel speech.
Yeah.
Taylor Lorenz is like one of the biggest disappointments to women like ever, honestly. Like Taylor Lorenz is like, if she is not the biggest one, she's certainly in like the top 5 maybe. We have sweeped for Twitch for all of the sexual misconduct cases they've occurred throughout this whole video. It's just like constant just sweeping for Twitch. And you say you care about misogyny, but your goat is Hassan Parker, who says that he denies that rapes happened on October 7th by Hamas, even though there's a UN report that said that they happened. And then you are not even going to watch Emiru's account of the sexual assault she experienced at TwitchCon. You're not even going to do that.
Because Twitch is the one platform, because it's live streaming, it doesn't have that sort of like real-time moderation. So of course, you can't criticize Israel on TikTok, you can't criticize Israel on Meta, you can't criticize Israel.
What are you talking about? I see criticism of Israel all the time on like all these social media platforms. You're free to criticize Israel there.
On YouTube. Twitch is a place that one streamer, which is Hassan, and then a few
That's like literally all I see on the topic is you're free to criticize Israel.
other smaller ones, of course. Like Twitch is overwhelmingly not a
Which,
progressive
by the way, I'm okay with, by the way. Like, because the Israeli government deserves criticism.
space, but have been able to speak out. We saw Creators for Palestine happen with Twitch. I wrote about this actually a year ago about how Twitch had become this bastion for leftist sort of content. And I think that the government is very eager to eradicate that. And I do think that they will be successful, and that will only exacerbate the problem of, harassment and misogyny.
Any conversation about like what's happening at that level, it's no coincidence that this rhetoric of like men need to protect women and like federal police and agents need to protect women, it coexists with exactly what the Trump administration is doing. It's literally the same.
So don't go to the police. If you get sexually assaulted, don't go to the police. That's what they're saying. Got it. Nice. Thanks. Don't let the law deal with sexual assault.
Ideology.
I just want to reiterate again that I'm so disgusted by the response from these bad faith trolls saying that people like me, or I'm sure they're going to say this about you, don't care about gender-based violence.
Yeah, because you didn't watch Emiru's video on her account of her assault. You didn't watch her video, and that's the whole point of this video.
Care about women.
And you didn't give Dan Clancy enough meaningful pushback on why this shit is allowed to keep happening. You're the journalist, Taylor. That is your job.
Safety. Something that we both have dedicated a significant
You're the quote-unquote journalist, I should say, because she's not even a real journalist. I'm pretty sure, like, most fucking, like, news outlets don't even want her as a writer.
portion of our careers do, you especially even more. But like, I mean, I wrote about Gamergate extensively. I covered this in my book. Writing about the weaponization of the internet against women is something that I have written about and experienced very publicly for years and years. And so to say, yes, Twitch was very secure. Yes, they actually had way more security than other conventions. That does not make it safe. That is not like simping for Twitch or whatever, which I'm very critical of. That is not defending a corporation. All these corporations, Amazon especially. It is simply trying
Wow. Very brave of you, Taylor.
to redirect the conversation towards the root problem and the fact that this is a bad faith campaign actually aimed at distracting people from the real problem, which is misogynistic abuse and hate.
I didn't think it could get worse. I didn't think it could get worse until you just said that. The real problem is misogynistic hate. Not that Emiru got sexually assaulted or that Twitch has had a problem with sexual misconduct for years. That's not the problem. The real problem is misogyny towards women. That's the real problem. And to be fair, misogyny is a problem, but with the way you worded it, you just made it seem like the sexual assault was not a problem at all. At all. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. I don't even know what to say to that. That's... Okay. Okay, yeah, I don't know what to say to that. That's... Wow. That's a stance to die on.
Harassment. And that underpins all of this.
Or that's a hill to die on.
You can never have safety for women until that root problem is fixed, because you can have all the security theater in the world. It's not going to prevent the violence against women that we saw this year at TwitchCon.
You're totally right. And I think that like if I could reiterate one message for people to take away, it's that security theater does not protect women. It is a psychological sort of construct to make people feel safe that ignores all of these root issues. Increased policing
Yeah, so Twitch should get better security.
does not protect women. Military
Yeah, Twitch needs to get better security. If you think it's a construct, why didn't you advocate for that? Because you don't care.
militarization does not protect women. And these sort of conservative ideologies around like protecting women with men at their root cause, it just
Conservatives don't even give a fuck about protecting women. What are you talking about? They don't care. They had they were like literal friends. Like a lot of big conservative people were friends with Andrew Tate, who is a sex trafficking, grooming rapist, and they were totally chill with him until they couldn't be.
Endangers women more. So like if I could have people take one thing away from this, it would be that it is about dismantling misogyny. It is not about enacting more control and more surveillance around women in their lives.
Yeah, I saw one Twitch streamer who I love, but was even saying, and I'm sure maybe he was saying it in like a joking way, but like, oh, you know, too many of the security guards at Twitch were twinks. Like they were small. We need like big burly men to be security guards. And I'm sure he was.
I mean, generally speaking, that's probably true. That's not like a bad thing to like account for. Like, typically, bigger guys are going to be more intimidating. If you had someone like the size of my brother, who's like 6'7", I believe. I forget. He's over 6 foot. If you had a security guard the size of my brother, people would be more intimidated. They're not going to mess with that fucking person. But like, if you have somebody like my size, maybe like even more skinnier or a little bit shorter, do you really think that anyone's going to be intimidated by someone like that? Like, just realistically speaking, Taylor, like, what do you think? From a practical standpoint. What do you think?
Joking, but it's like these little things that drive me crazy because, as you said, like having big burly men around does not inherently make women safe. Having 24/7 IRL.
No, psychologically, people are generally more safe when people are bigger. You know, they're going to be a little bit more intimidated.
Live streamers around does not inherently make women safe. You know, having all the kind of like wristband bullshit in the world, like, again, should we have a baseline level of security? Yes. But all of that stuff will not prevent so much of the just disgusting stuff that women had to deal with at this year's convention and previous year's convention. And I think that Twitch needs a radical culture change. And I think the influencer world generally needs to confront its misogyny problem, because although Twitch is the sort of the nexus of a lot of this stuff, it's all over Reddit, it's all over YouTube, it's all over Twitter. Like, it is this like network of hate that spreads across the entire internet.
Yeah, hate will never make women safer. It will only put them in more danger.
Well, Kat, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
That's it for this week's.
Kat contributed absolutely nothing to this conversation whatsoever, and she's never actually been... hasn't even gone to this year's TwitchCon. So thank you for a whole lot of nothing, Taylor.
Free Speech Friday. If you like my work, please support me on Patreon.
Free Disinformation Friday.
Via the link below, or buy a paid subscription to my tax.
Free Disinformation Friday. I'm so proud of my journalism. My peak journalism when I don't push back against Dan Clancy and I lie about everything I say.
An online culture newsletter, UserMag, at usermag.co. That's usermag.co. You can also get my newsletter through my Patreon. I currently don't have any brand partnerships right now, so even just the tiniest support.
Yeah, I can see why. No, I don't think a single brand would want to associate with a known fucking liar and a hack of a journalist, quote-unquote journalist.
A huge difference. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back next week with a brand new episode of Free Speech Friday.
That was fucking terrible. That was like one of the worst ones I've seen, and I didn't even think that was possible.